The Super UFO Pro 8 is a SNES slash Super Famicom backup device. You can use it to play backed up games as well as ROM hacks. And you can also use it to back up your SNES cartridges to SD card or to memory. Memory doesn't make much sense, but if you want to back it up to your SD card, you can save it for archival purposes. You can then load it onto your PC, to your Dropbox, wherever you want to keep that forever. I really am fond of this unit. I wanted one of these for quite a while. And now that I've actually been able to get my hands on it, I don't know how I lived without this in the past. So if you've used an emulator to play SNES or Genesis or NES games in the past, you know how limiting it can be to not have the original controller. This totally gets around that. Frankly, much like other emulators and hardware backup units, this is, it has kind of a kludgy user interface, and frankly I don't quite I'm the kind of guy that doesn't actually read the manual. I like being able to just figure things out by looking at it, but the user interface is not really the most user-friendly. But the things that I really want to do, which is play games from my SD card, I can easily do that. But looking at the save game feature, just from playing with it, I can't tell if this is to save a game to memory, to save a game state, or to load saved games, such as battery backups. Ultimately, my lack of willingness to read the manual is no fault of the Super Pro 8, but I do like being able to figure things out just quickly and easily. This isn't difficult by any stretch, but figuring it out would be nice on a single glance. Oh well. The Super UFO Pro 8 supports, I would say, the more common SNES ROM file extensions such as bin and SMC. And unfortunately, it really only shows 8 characters per game. So you either have to name your games with 8 characters in mind, or sort of figure out which game is which based on the ROM size. So if you are looking at 2 carts that are named Street Fighter 2, and one is 16 megs, you can say, oh, well, that's the original Street Fighter 2. And if the other is 24 megs, that's Street Fighter 2 Turbo. The Super UFO Pro 8 comes packaged with a driver CD, a USB cable, and an SD card adapter. So if you have a micro SD, it'll work with the SD card slot. Right here you can see that the unit takes an SD card on one end, and on the other end, it's a little stiff getting that in there. That's good, though. It means the spring will last longer. But on this end, you can see that it has a micro USB port. I really like this in general. It's pretty cool. The thing that I always wanted one of these for was for backing up games. And back in the day, this is actually the same unit. Not the same unit. It's not the same version, but it's, to my understanding, the same manufacturer of these backup devices. See, it has a little card slot, or a little slot here for the game cartridge. Here, I'm putting in Fighter's History by Data East. You can actually, as you saw in the video, go in and back up the game. You can back up the game either to memory, like memory of the unit, or to your SD card. So back in the day, these units actually were backed up to floppy disk. And I'll be honest, back in the 90s, I lusted after these units. I always wanted them, but the price range was like ridiculously out of my price range, being a teenager. So it was like $100 plus for one of these. Now, due to the technology and the fact that people can send specs to China to get them printed, you can get these now for like $40. Now, if you look on eBay, you might see these as high as $80, but really, if you go to Amazon, people have these posted for $40, $50 with shipping. And to be able to play backed up games, ROM hacks are especially cool, and games which were not released in the U.S. that have been patched in English, say like Dragon Quest 5 and 6. It's really definitely worth definitely worth $40, $50 tops. There are, I guess, nicer units available. I know Stone Age Gamer has the Super EverDrive, and it seems to be like a premium version of this. But for my limited needs, the Super UFO Pro 8 really more than meets my expectations. And I totally would recommend picking one of these up. You can play, like I said, backups. If you want to download ROMs, you can do that as well. But I don't recommend it. But being able to back up, load cheats, which I'm not really that interested in, but in saving your cartridge, cannot beat the deal. It's fantastic. I would totally recommend buying one of these.